One thing I really like about this bank is how much everyone genuinely cares about their customers and about the community and about each other. Always trying to put ourselves in the customer's place. What would I expect if I were the customer? And then we try to take it up a few notches from there. And it's kind of like being part of the family when you're banking with us.
Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome Reverend Gene Shelburne with the Annis Street Church of Christ, who will give our invocation.
You know, Lord, that flurries of civic criticism seem to sprout seasonally in our community, like dandelions or crabgrass in the very best kept lawn. On a day when the voices of opposition are momentarily stilled, we take this quiet moment, Lord, to thank you for our critics. We thank you for their nettlesome personalities that needle us into examining our weaker policies. We thank you for their sometimes less than lucid arguments that make us tighten our own logic. We even thank you, Lord, for the tendency of critics to be negative, because it reminds us always to be positive as we plan for the future of our city. All of us need critics, Lord, to catch our mistakes, to cover our fumbles, to regulate our egos, to challenge our perspectives. We need our critics, Lord, but we seldom enjoy them. Grant us patience with those who pester us, kindness for those who are rude, tolerance for the uninformed, and sympathy for those in distress, so that all who enter these chambers may be treated with dignity and respect. In the spirit of him who prayed for his critics when they nailed him to a cross. Amen.
Thank you. Would you all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Amarillo City Commission held on the third floor of City Hall each Tuesday, or this Tuesday, at 3 p.m. The first item of business today on the agenda is the minutes from the last meeting. Attached is a copy of the minutes. The approval for the City Commission minutes for the regularly scheduled meeting held on October 11th, 2011. Entertain a motion.
Are we going to having a moment of recognition for our fire chief?
We should let's stop and do that now. Is it all right with you all if we set this item aside for a minute? Can we do that? That'd be great. Thank you, Commissioner. I wasn't sure if we do that at the beginning or at the end. I'd like to call forward our retiring, regretfully, Fire Chief Steve Ross. Would you come forward, please? I must tell you that we will, first of all, I guess we could make a comment, but maybe the city manager could fill us in on the details of this. It happened rather quickly. We have some wishes that we'd like to give you, but Mr. City Manager, would you fill us in on the details of what's transpired just recently?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd be glad to. Steve Ross began service with the Amarillo Fire Department 33 years ago. Steve was promoted to Fire Chief 15 years ago. Over the course of his career, Steve has been just instrumental in building the fire department into what I know that all of y'all have seen, certainly this year, probably more so than in normal years. Steve has put together an all-hazards group. We have firefighters all across this city that are trained to respond in each of the major disciplines. Under Steve's leadership, we have substantially upgraded the training. We've upgraded the education. We've upgraded the equipment. And with this body's help, in 2007, we took the first major leap forward in upgrading facilities for the fire department that we'd had since really the late 1950s. Taken together, Steve and his team have consistently shown their dedication to providing for the safety not only of the residents of Amarillo as their primary responsibility, but also to the surrounding areas and regions. And again, it's something we saw quite a bit of this year. At this point in his career, Steve and his wife have an opportunity to retire from a very, very successful career here, to move closer to their children. And fortunately for Halton City, Texas, he has an opportunity to start anew. Steve will be assuming the position of fire chief in Halton City on November the 7th. I keep saying the 3rd. I don't mean to run him out any quicker than he's already going, but I think it's November the 7th. But Mayor and Commission, I would suggest to you that Steve is just one of many, many examples of your senior staff here, their extended tenure, their dedication, and what that has resulted in as far as the benefit to our citizens. Surely do not wish to see Steve leave. In fact, he really wanted to give me like a 3-day notice. Let's work for about 30 days here. I think we settled on 2 weeks. But going to miss him. Absolutely going to miss him. But you've got a fire department that he's leaving in place, about which I have no doubts about the ability to carry forward. Ultimately for us to select the next chief. And I expect things to continue and to continue on the path that we're on today that we've been on for quite some time. So with that, I'll quit, Mayor, and turn it back to you.
The general comment, but I'd like to ask each of the commissioners to make a comment if they wish. But I would remind everybody here and people watching as this is broadcast that these are the guys that run into a building that we're trying to escape from. They volunteer to run into a building and save our lives when we're trying to get the heck out of there. And we've seen it time and time again. They don't hesitate. They protect us. So, any commissioner comments?
Well, of course, I have the fortunate life that I've known Steve going back a long ways. I tried to hire his wife one time when I had my business, Mitchell Electric, and I had her hired. And then because of her having thoughts towards her former, what I thought was going to be her former employee, she stayed with him. And I remember Steve and the kids coming in, because she would work on Saturdays for me. And they would come in, and what a family to observe and to watch. But that also, to me, indicated the character of Steve Ross. And then having had the tenure on the commission that I've had, I don't think I've ever seen anyone approach their job with the passion that Steve Ross does his, and the dedication that he has to this city and to his men and to this commission and to the rest of the city staff. It's just it's unusual. And Steve, I really, as you know, I work with you on a lot of projects. I have relied on your honesty and your integrity and your leadership to help me make what is the right decision for the city. There's been a few times when I thought you got a little ahead of yourself, and I've seen you back up, and that's another thing that I admire in people. But what he has done in the short time I've been on this commission is unbelievable, and the state of our fire department is second to none in the country. I'd rather bet on that than next week's football games, because this man believes with the passion in what he's doing. And Halton City has no idea what they're getting. And it's a shame that the newspaper's not here, because this man has just done so much for the city. And the relationship that I personally have enjoyed with Steve is going to be hard to replace. I'm not saying it can't be. And I know that he has built a great department, and a lot of times that's the sign of leadership, is if when you step aside, what happens? And I think that you will be pleasantly surprised that things will keep going on. But the fire department that you created in Amarillo, Texas, as of October the 18th, 2011, is great. And Steve, I appreciate your time and your life for this city. And I wish you the best in Godspeed.
Chief, I'm going to talk about you, not in terms of my being city commissioner, but several years ago when I was still a banker, probably over 10 years ago, I remember that we worked on a project at Cap Rock High School for the first year that the AIDS scholarship program started there. And I remember that we talked about how we got young people to look at different professions and what they needed to learn, how they needed to be educated in order to be successful at whatever field they chose. And I remember seeing you and having that light bulb light up and say, hey, we've been teaching this all wrong. We've just been going and telling kids in the classroom, I'm a fireman, and this is what we wear, and this is what we do. Not understanding that kids needed more than that in order to even consider professions that might be available to them. And you took that to heart because did you not start a junior fireman program through your fire station so that young people could actually go and experience what a fire station looked like, what they actually did? Probably ate some of that wonderful food that all firemen cook. But you were not so full of yourself that you didn't think about doing something different to enhance the possibilities for young people to think about being firemen and looking for a good future in that field. So I commend you for always having an open mind, and I thank you for the assistance you rendered me just since I've been on the commission. And anywhere I go, I brag about our fire department because I think it's top notch. And a good leader leads by serving, and that's what you've done for your fire department. And all your men are proud of you, and I'm proud of the whole fire department. Thank you for what you've done.
Well, Chief Ross, I was very impressed on the occasion. I am the youngest member of the commission, therefore my allotted time is less than everyone else. And so I would just very briefly say that we suddenly found ourselves without an ambulance service. And you sprang into the midst of the devil in the deep blue sea and could have a vision for what our pre-hospital system could be. And you had to deal with conflict on the department side, on the business side, on the city side. Kind of a thankless job, and you navigated that with extreme professionalism. And I've just been impressed from the very beginning. And so I don't think anybody could quote it better than the Bible, Matthew 25:21. Job well done, good and faithful servant.
They say showing up is half the job, don't they? So after 33 years, I guess you've got that part covered. But the thing that makes you so special is that you show up every time 100%. And your greatness comes from your expertise and from what a great educator you are. And especially, I saw that over and over again during this devastating wildfire season, just this year. And I was so glad to have you on our side. And I felt, down in the Emergency Operations Center, I thought, Chief Ross is out there. We're going to be okay. And I so appreciate your work. And Amarillo's loss is Halton City's gain. And I'm so happy that you get to go be near your family, but sorry for us. So thank you so much for everything you've done and everything you continue to do in the legacy that you're leaving.
We have over 2,200 employees in the city, and they're very dedicated people. And the leadership that's given to those people is what trickles down. And it does come from the top, no matter where. Watching you delegate authority in action in the Emergency Operations Center, trained, fair treatment of your peers and of your subordinates is renowned. In fact, we are probably in a better position with the city negotiating with the people in the fire department because of that type of leadership. And it comes from a humble spirit. There's oftentimes, I think, the misuse of the word motivation. We say we've got to motivate people. And the Greeks really invented that term. The root of it means from within. So if you think about what motivates firemen or fire chiefs, it has to be something from within. And I think they're the epitome of that word, motivation. So we see the results of that with your service. Interesting. great what you've done for our city. And it's an example of what the other firemen do. You go to work every day so that other people can live. Thank you.
Mayor, if I might make one announcement. The retirement reception for Chief Ross will be this Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. at the Central Fire Station, that's 4th and Vineyard. Steve, thanks.
Thank you. I appreciate the thanks, but I think in all sincerity, I'm the one that's very thankful. I think it's a real blessed person that gets a calling and gets to have a blessed career, and obviously, it takes the Lord's blessing for us to be successful and to be able to do what you're actually called to do in your life. So I think I'm the one that's very thankful. I am very blessed and thankful to have a family that can put up with a firefighter. Over 33 years, it's only a handful of days that were pretty rocky. But as a general rule, that was a very raised my family as an employee of the city of Amarillo, and obviously my son's a firefighter in Arlington, so the apple didn't fall very far from that tree. Or he's a slow learner, one or the other. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to work with the group that I've worked with, the mentors that I had learning this business, and the mentors I learned really more than just the fire service in life. People that I've had the opportunity to work with, and Mr. Ward, Mr. Taylor, Kel, and a lot of different people that I've had the opportunity to learn from. And I think more importantly than anything else, I think the mayor, the thing that I'm most thankful for is to be, it's very inspiring for me, and I am kind of an energizer bunny, but I don't want to be the one that lets everybody down. And in our department, with the dedication of those firefighters and the commitment they had, you're right, you can't pay people to risk their life. They can talk a mean game, but when it comes right down to that decision, hey, I could die tonight, they do it. And that's something you can't. That does come from within. I've been very, very, very lucky to have what I deem to be the best, the most motivated and dedicated firefighters on the planet. So in spite of me, I think they are one of the premier fire departments. So I'm very thankful to be able to work with them. And I think I owe a lot of thanks to the citizens of Amarillo. So I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve here and to live here and be friends and neighbors. This will always be home to me, and I love you guys, so thanks.
Wait, one question, Steve. Why are you out of uniform?
They all.
I'm teasing.
Yeah, actually, I wasn't anticipating doing this today, as you can tell by my dress, but I did put a sports coat on. Thank you very much for the chance. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Chief.
Now, Mr. Mayor, I will move for approval of the minutes as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Sims.
Second the motion.
Any discussion or changes to the minutes? If not, all those in favor of the minutes as presented?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7299. This is the first reading of an ordinance changing the zoning of Lot 5, Block 210, Holland Edition, in Section 156, Block 2, ABNM Survey, Potter County, in the vicinity of Northeast 3rd Avenue and Lincoln Street, from a multifamily District 1 to multifamily District 1 with a specific use permit for placement of a Type A manufactured home. This is recommended for approval by a 7-0 vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And there is attachments in our addendums about this. Mr. Shaw, would you like to make any comment about this?
None other than the Planning and Zoning Commissioners felt that this was a very appropriate dwelling put in this area, whereby many of the lots in this area are vacant, and is somewhat of an economically distressed area. So any development in this area would be something good for the area. So they felt it was appropriate. Recommended approval of it.
We reviewed this in the work session. Are there any comments from the commissioners? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move approval of ordinance number 7299.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of passing ordinance number 7299?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. Ordinance number 7300. This is the first reading of an ordinance changing the zoning of Block 29, Block 17, Mesa Verde edition of Section 126, Block 2, ABNM Survey, Potter County, in the vicinity of Northeast 32nd Avenue and Grand Street, from Residential District 2 to Residential District 2 with a specific use permit for placement of a carport within the front yard setback. This is recommended for approval by a 7-0 vote of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Any comments from Mr. Shaw? About the same situation, isn't it?
Pretty much, and we'd be happy to answer any questions anybody may have.
Okay. Any comments from the Commission? Any from the audience? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I move we approve ordinance number 7300.
I second.
All those in favor of 7300?
Aye.
Opposed? Ordinance 7300 passed with a 5-0 vote. Consent agenda. It's recommended that the following items be approved by the city manager and he be authorized to execute all documents necessary to each transaction. The consent agenda consists of item A, purchase of automotive batteries annual contract, B, award of main water extension and replacement project, C, acceptance of Pantex agreement in principle grant agreement, D, acceptance of state emergency management performance grant, E, approval of firefighting clothing contract, F, dedication and acceptance of aviation clear zone easement. Are there any items on the consent agenda that need to be removed for separate consideration by the Commission? Are there any comments by the Commission on any of the consent agenda items? Any comments from the audience? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor of the consent agenda?
Aye.
Opposed? That passes with a 5-0 vote. That concludes the regularly scheduled agenda of the Amarillo City Commission. It's, however, customary at this time to allow citizens of this community with matters pertaining to city policy, programs, and services to speak to the Commission. And the floor is now open for those comments. Anybody would like to come forward?
Can I tell you one quick anecdote about the chief?
Certainly, if you...
It's about that long, so it won't take long. I'm Gene Sheldon, 3516 Carlton. I am fortunate to have a young nephew who is a firefighter in Amarillo. He is an apprentice. I say that, no, that's probably not the right word. He's in his first year. He's under approval time still. Not long, maybe 3-4 months after he went to work for the city, they discovered that his wife has breast cancer, rather serious. In fact, the surgery was finished about an hour ago. Here's a young man in a department where he's not sure his job is even secure beyond this year, and his wife facing that kind of uncertainty. He is serving here after all the training that we do to get him ready, but he doesn't have any idea that our chief knows that he exists. And on the day after he comes back to work after this diagnosis, the chief shows up at the fire station where this young man serves and seeks him out by name and offers condolence to him for what's going on and gives him his support. That's the kind of man we're losing.
Thank you, Gene. Any other comments?
Kathy Altman, 2105 South Lipscomb. Thank you for that story. I guess I'm one of the ones that you rather would call a dandelion. I think more of us as roses with thorns to protect us from this automatic steamroller of plans and expenditures that are made by the city oftentimes. Well, my real question today is, I was picking up my grandson from school the other day, and I got a phone call on my cell phone, and called to attention, you know, the regulations that you passed about not being able to talk on cell phones in a school district. I need some clarification on that. Does that mean if your car is parked, you can't talk on it? Does that mean you can't talk on it if you're standing outside waiting? What are the hours of the enforcement? Is this 7 days a week? Is this just during dismissal time? When does this apply?
Excuse me, you can talk on it if your car is parked. You can talk on your phone if you're out of the car. It's when the car is moving. And I believe it is when, I don't know
The
about
lights are flashing. The chief's here, but when the lights are flashing, correct?
2 days from 7:30 to 4:30, whatever it is, it's posted.
What'd you say, chief?
where it's posted. So really all schools, but I mean, the answer is that your concerns were addressed when it was originally instituted, and you can be stopped and you can be out of the car. There's no problem with that. Okay. You need to be in a parking place, not in a lane of traffic, stopped to move forward. You can't do it then.
Or if you have a hands-free device, you can talk while you're...
Yes, truly hands-free device.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other comments?
Trina Foreigner, 4427 South Haven. A couple of things. First of all, I want to say thank you to all the members of the commission and city staff that I've spoken to over the last month or so, taking up a good bit of their time, and they've been very patient and forthcoming with the answers to my questions, so I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Secondly, I had talked to Commissioner East a few weeks ago about a question I wanted to ask, and I had his permission to ask it before the commission at the meeting. I had heard, I had some people telling me that concerning the tax increase, that last year Commissioner Eads was for a tax increase, and that this year he was opposing it, and they seemed to be saying that it was inconsistent, his position on that. I'll let you answer in just a minute. I have one more thing. Not last week, the week before, the 5:30 meeting, it was Mrs. Taylor was here, and I can't remember exactly what it was that she had comment on, but I believe it was someone Green there that answered her and said that there had been a 45-day period of public comments, and Mrs. Taylor was not aware of that. I understand that there was a period of public comment and all that, but I'm thinking maybe there's a lack of, I don't know, it's not getting out enough. If someone like Charlie Taylor, who follows city politics rather closely, didn't know that, just like to encourage the commission maybe to try to think of a way to make that information more available, more out there for people to see.
Actually, to our chagrin, we spend thousands of dollars a year on public notices in the newspaper. I don't know what that says about the newspaper or about the people that read it or don't read it, but it is a difficult situation to get that.
Could something like that be posted on the website? Like I see notices about traffic closures and things like that. Could it be posted?
Let us refer that to our staff.
It is on the website.
It is on the website.
Hey, can I say one more thing? I wasn't saying we've had 45 days to go sit down. Oh, I didn't mean that at all. I think her question was something, as I recall, as I heard it, the question was something about how much public input, or is this the only chance for public input, is today. And I was saying, I meant to say, no, there's been 45 days of public input, but of course anyone's free to continue the conversation right here. Okay. So when she said, oh, I'm sorry, I wanted to say, no, I didn't mean that. I meant, that was an answer to your question, is we've there's been 45 days to talk about it, but sure, talk about it right here, because that's what they saw on the agenda today, too.
Okay. So, Mr. Gates.
Yeah, that is a good question. The Texas legislature, in their wisdom, has created a system whereby it's very confusing to the public. For example, Last year, I was in favor of maintaining the same tax rate that we had this year before the increase. And last year, because of the increase, the new property that came into play, and the increase in value of property, that same tax rate actually produced more revenue for the city. And so, in that regard, wanting to maintain the same tax rate, that would have been a small overall tax increase, and it would have brought in more money. This year, trying to be very consistent, I once again wanted to support, just like last year, the same tax rate rather than increasing the rate. So even if you keep the tax rates the same year to year, it will, because the new property that comes in and appreciation of values of property, it will result in some additional revenue. Last year, the commission decided to not stick with the same rate, but actually lower the rate slightly so that it brought in slightly less revenue. Can I confirm that it is the way that was last year?
That's correct, Commissioner. A year ago, the adopted tax rate was the same as the prior year, the 31,009, which was in effect a slight decrease because we had declining values and freeze numbers.
This is to a degree that old argument of who's on first and who's on second. It is
Well, I
really confusing.
already talked to me about it, but I wanted it to be on public record.
It can be very confusing year to year.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your input today. Anyone else would like to make a comment? Mr. Johnson, I'm going to let you introduce your name and but I want to admit to you that I was out of town this morning with Boy Scout work and did not return your phone call.
Well, at least you're doing something.
Well, I was doing something, but I'm sorry I did not call you back this morning. Would you give your name and address?
I'm Jimmy Johnson, Royal Limousines. I'm 4460 Ridge Crest. Excuse me if I have to walk out while I go. I'm my secretary of 51 years. Been married. She's been my secretary of 25. She is no longer able to take care of the phone, so I got a briefcase in the car and I do it on the go. I'm hands-on and everything. But one of the things I wanted to comment on was all the permits and stuff. Like I said, I'm a hands-on. I do everything. I've got a bond to sell carports. I got a bond to put up signs on my own property. I don't know if you've been by from the DJs, but that's my design, my sign. I put it in. And I just got the shock of my life. I had a hot water heater go out in one of my rentals. And I called, and the guy told me you got to get a permit. I've installed hot water heaters for all my life. I'm 72 years old, and I've never paid to get a hot water heater installed. Would you believe now the cost of installing a hot water heater is $1,200? $1,200 to install a hot water heater.
You mean from a retail person?
If you go buy I bought the hot water heater.
Right.
The price that they wanted to install it was $850.
Right. Correct.
Well, I'm hard to get along with. I got them down to $425. But this deal that we had to do, you had to have a business seal, which I already had it in my room, where my furnace, my hot water heater, and everything like that. But then we had to run another 4-inch pipe, 12 inches to the floor, out through the attic. I used to install wood-burning furnaces in the 70s. I had a full-time job working 9 hours a day, but I installed between $250,000 and $500,000 worth of furnaces a year. I know what I'm doing. Okay, when I looked at this furnace room with a pipe going out the top, and again, I grew up with wood-burning heat, as it was on this horse we had. This makes an inferno out of my house. If you ever get any kind of little fire in this room, it's going to just, I will talk to any engineer or anything, but buddy, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen. They say it's because of the design of the hot water heater. We need to look at this, because I'll assure you, this is like a stove pipe to a stove. It's going to draw real good. And if you ever get a spark or anything in that room, you're going to have one big fire. This is not a step forward, this is a step backwards. And I know what I'm talking about. And believe me, I have never, ever backed up from anything. I'm hands-on everything that goes on in my business. My My wife's been my secretary, like I said, for the last 25 years, and I've been married to her 51. And I think we need to take a look at this hot water heater thing. I think about the people across town that maybe can't come up with $1,250 to replace a hot water heater. Or maybe they got to get it on payments and pay for it 2 or 3 years. It's going to cause a big burden on a lot of people. And it's a poor design. It's not good. And I'd like to give somebody a demonstration. And a building out here is empty. Let's put that design in there and let me put a little pan of fire in there and they can show you how it works. So it will burn the house real quick.
Johnson, I'm sorry, but that bell's going to keep ringing. Let me comment to you that we do have to go by the codes that are set.
I know that, but like I said, we need to look it over.
And your time is up, but I would not want to cut you off.
No problem.
I am. But I would tell you, we'd be happy to discuss this, but we do have to live within the codes.
But like I said, we need to look at it.
Mr. Johnson, excuse me. These codes have changed. They've been updated. They've been upgraded. And you and I are old devils that don't always understand all that. It took a while for them to explain this to me, and I'd be happy after the meeting if you'd like to come to my office and meet with the people that can explain it more thoroughly. Would you like to do that?
I would like to see a demonstration.
Would you like to come to my office?
Yes, sir.
Afterwards? We'll meet right there. I invite you to come back.
It's a bad system.
Okay, thank you very much. And, I don't know, we may want the fire chief and the building inspector to help with that. I don't know.
I'd like to
Thank you for the comment, but we do have to live within codes that are stringent, and they are difficult and they change. It's not simple. It isn't simple. Any other comments? Thank you so much for being here today. Chief Ross, again, thanks for your service and for the other people in the department for their service. We appreciate everything you've done for our city. Thank you.